Hello there. My name is Pastor Dave Bryan. I'm the senior pastor of the Church of Glad Tidings of the Embassy of Heaven here in Yuba City, California, and it's time to roar. And I've got a friend on all the way from across the big pond, but that's James Martinez. I thank God for James. Thank God, James, for your courage. I know you have a great deal of wisdom, but the thing that is really lacking today with people who are in the know, most of them simply lack the courage to show up at the showdown and throw down. And so it's great to have James Martinez back on. I want to encourage you to listen to the past three sessions. We've been doing a series here with James about singularity, about 6G, about nanotechnology, and about mind control, and how the fallen ones, that's the again the spirit realm, and those that the evil kingdom of darkness control, because we've talked a bit about this in the last sessions, but the simple truth is the Bible says that the heavens belong to the Lord, the earth he has given to the sons of man. And because of that, the fallen ones, they don't have access here except as it is granted, either overtly or covertly, meaning you can either yield yourself to the power of evil, or you can simply be passive when evil is yielding sway. And so we've done a great deal, really, of both of those. The occult has arisen in America, but I think the real sin of America is passivity, and we have not been vigilant. Our forefathers said if we were not vigilant, we would lose the country that they fought for. They spilt their blood to both to define and to establish, and the price of our freedom was said by our forefathers to be constant vigilance. We have not done well at that. In fact, I would say that on a scale of 1 to 10, we're down there around 1. We have not been vigilant. We have not protected our freedoms. We have acquiesced to government. It's really sickening to me as a pastor. You know, for instance, the message of the Christ, the poor received him gladly. He said, do to others what you would want them to do to you. He established a very clear mode of operation, and that was that we should meet urgent needs and do good. And then you look at the church in America. I call it the Great American Religious Enterprise. But the sad truth, James, is that many churches have become social clubs. They don't bend over backwards to help anybody. In fact, Church of Glad Tidings, we've been here 39 years. We get referrals from every church in the county. Like, oh, we don't do that, but go out to Glad Tidings, they'll help you. But there's been an acquiescence. And so the church, instead of doing what they are supposed to do, they've said, oh, you're having problems, you should see the welfare department or whatever. And in the same way, different application, but in the same way, we talked last session or the session before about the bread and circus mentality, and about the flaw of human nature that if you have plenty to eat and you're entertained, it's really easy to abdicate your responsibility and to just go along to get along. And we've got to quit that. It's last down, long yardage. And I believe, and James, I know you do, we have God, which means we have good on our side, right? The influence of what is honorable and pure and acceptable. And but what we have to do is shake ourselves out of complacency and say, hey, God has given us this world. Government is not in charge. Governments are to be appointed by man in order to protect their freedoms. We're living in a day where the government actually has stolen from us freedom after freedom after freedom. And so it's time for us to shake ourselves and wake ourselves. And we say it this way at GT: it's time to show up in the showdown and throw down. And so uh, let's talk about the the whole issue of soul cocooning, what's going on in the world, the how globalism is using the singularity to try to control the mind and the soul of men. So just take it wherever you want it to go from there, James. But what really are we up against, and what's the solution to it in these troubled times that we're living in?
I think that what's going on now is related to why I'm here is the brain computer interface and the that link up with the quantum computer and what that is going to mean to us as a species. Because the plan for all of this and all this infrastructure that's been set up for the past 40, 50 years is even longer actually, has all been set up for us to get to this point so that a civilization could be created that is quote unquote, from some people that have said, from a class 5 civilization to a class 3 civilization. I don't know the exact numbers, but
Yeah,
an
yeah,
upgrade from what it currently is to something a lot more advanced. But they didn't tell you what that entails and why they're doing it.
right,
Because the breakaway civilizations that have been referenced through the World Economic Forum and entities like those and the people that finance those people that are basically the hired guns to speak publicly about it are making their declarations loud and clear that the future is non-human. They're putting it on newspapers. They're putting it on top of
right,
magazines. And when they say non-human, that means that a human, as we define it now, to ourselves as somebody that has freely autonomous hands, has their own
right.
their own environment. There's nothing mechanical inside my body. I'm an organic human being.
Yeah,
That is obsolete to them, and the plan is the crossover of what they're going to try and attempt to do is bridging spirituality and science into one so that when they sell the brain computer interface, they're going to be selling it in terms of our natural evolution into the next stage of who
right,
we are to be, and then
right.
declare that uh, kind of that's the extinction level event that I've referred to by putting us in this arrangement, and they're doing it through systematic data collection, voice collection, keystroke collection, biometric collection, and your use of electronic devices that are imploded into cars on your personal self through the phones and through all the computers that you interface with and televisions, so that all of that works to interface so that you will agree to give up your um, humanness to
Yeah,
become
your
to get
individual
something else.
sovereignty. Yeah,
Yes, because they get people to be compliant by this. By it's the oldest and most effective hypnotic tool is the use of fractionalization to get into a new state. If when a hypnotist is trying to get somebody to stop smoking, they use something called fractionalization to before they enter the suggestion of to stop smoking, and they would alter their brain patterns, alter their breathing, alter language, and then they make the suggestion of doing something. So the culture's been set up to induce fractionalization so that when the time comes, people will walk right into this trap and give up ultimately their independence and their spiritual autonomy to technology, which is being sold to us daily by our participation of it. See, they put out these technologies and we participate by using them without having any public discussion or discourse
right,
about the media ecological effects of what that does to your thinking, your cognitive behavioral patterns, your values, and how that relates to the people around you and your city and town. It affects
Right.
all of it because the and I've said this in many interviews with people I've spoken all over the world. The 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 mobile cell phone or smartphone, as they are labeling them now, is probably one of the most catastrophic, dangerous inventions ever to mankind
Wow.
because
Wow.
it our own participatory nature in agreeing to use these type of devices
Right.
in public when nobody called you or me or anybody else and said they were going to put out these devices and they knew that they were going to do what the end goal was. Nobody called you or said anything. There was no discussion. And
Yeah.
that's part of the problem is technology dictates modality, and which basically means that every time there's a technology that comes out, it could be something as very simple as a knife or anything, any technology, it affects the sensory balance of the brain. And this one, since it mimics the central nervous system, we pair bonded with it essentially because it gave us what we wanted instantaneously.
Yeah.
Get a number,
Yeah.
we get it now. We want to hear something, we hear it now. We want to look up
Right.
something, we hear it now. We want to watch a movie, we see it now. Everything's now. It changes just the effectiveness or the media ecological effect of simultaneity and instantaneousness
Yeah.
changed humanity, banking, law, everything overnight. But the effects of it, we haven't
Yeah.
seen. It's taken a little bit of time for us to see it bleed into the culture. And this was what Marshall McLuhan spoke about extensively. And anybody that's read his works know exactly what I'm talking about. And
Mm.
this ultimately is uh, the spiritual battlefield in the final one that we're about to all collectively participate in to decide whether or not we're going to go this way or we're going to go this way. And
Hmm.
what is that? What's that going to mean? And
Yeah.
what I'm doing is when I'm speaking to people and scientists and authors and judges and so forth, is that dialogue should be very loud, very public, and on
Yeah.
a continuous basis because
Right.
our spiritual lives are why we're here. That's more important than the
Yeah.
house, the car, and the anything. Is our spiritual consciousness and how we handle this right now.
Yeah. Right. Well, James, I wanted to ask you a couple of things in this session. One of them was that with your work with MK Ultra, and so much has been said about that, and even movies made. For instance, the Manchurian Candidate, how people can be programmed uh, with triggers in them. Of course, years ago we helped somebody come out of deep level satanic ritual abuse in the Church of Satan, but the same way, they triggered or they built in triggers when she heard something or said something. Some of the fracturing of her soul would kick in, and the the of course not only is there what happens in our soul fragmentation, but of course there are evil spirits that can manipulate all these things and take advantage of different states of consciousness. But in any event, um, what's what's your perspective on the Manchurian Candidate? Hundreds of thousands of people saw the movie, the Manchurian Candidate, and the remake of it. But to what degree is that something? Did it indeed come out of MK Ultra and the CIA mind control experimentation? And how often is that used today? And part of the inquiry, James, is that you you see things that do not seem normal. I'm thinking of the kid that crawled up in plain sight on the roof in I can't remember the name of the town, but the assassination attempt on Trump that clipped him in the ear. uh, that I know there are crazy people in the world, but that person had to know that that was a suicide attempt. And then you have people that, of course, in his case, he never got to tell his story because he was killed on the roof. But you have people that are involved in all kinds of wild things, and then they say things like, "A voice told me to do that," or I heard in my head, I knew that I was supposed to, or whatever, whatever. So I wanted you to comment on that in terms of your experience and your understanding of MK Ultra and mind programming. What's going on there, and how prevalent is it?
Very. And when they made the Manchurian candidate, there's several versions of it. The Denzel Washington version of it is very
Yeah.
good, and that is an accurate portrayal of the technological capabilities that we have. Now, I always say, and I bring up the example for Manchurian candidate because the association when you say that name for Manchurian candidate is a president or a leader. So
Hmm.
the one that's most obvious. And he, um, we've never seen him as his real self because his real self, he probably isn't even aware of, and that would be Barry Soetoro. That'd be President Obama because he pair bonded with his nanny, who was a transsexual. So he was already violated and had problems as a child before he was essentially brought into the agency as a teenager because of his whole family upbringing and their relationship to the Bush crime family.
Yeah.
So he is a shining example of what MK Ultra is because um, uh, as many people have said that when a person is in that state, it's usually a high stress state and when there's a loosening agent that's put in or induced into a person that's in a high stress state like that, usually you'll see the other personalities they'll just all fall out, and nobody knows Barry Soetoro at all, and I don't think he knows himself very well because the real person of who he um, is only known by a small level of people, but he is the Rolls Royce version of it because he appears to be thoughtful, empathic, listens, has a sense of humor, seems very normal, and a lot of those the programming capabilities to do and induce that type of resource state into somebody, those are easy to do. Those are very
Mm.
easy.
Yeah.
And since he was already an abused child to begin with and was in a state of trauma from a very young age, he was a perfect person to be modeled into something that could be used in the intelligence community.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, when people meet him or he's on camera, anybody that's interviewing him should ask just point blanks. So, how is Barry? And
Yeah.
see how he responds
Yeah.
because he will respond. And
Mm. Wow.
when he is one of his alters has come out is when he uh, has a sudden break in the tension level of his consciousness. This is why when people have interviewed him, he'll keep calling his wife Mike.
Yeah. A whole lot of
This is
times.
yes, because at the tension level, it goes down suddenly, and he forgets who he is.
Yeah.
He
Wow.
he knows he's lying, but he
Right.
doesn't know um, the missing pieces of him because he's not a whole human person. He's
Yeah.
not the missing pieces of him are not in fluid alliance. Somebody
Right.
that's healthy and whole, they're all the parts of them agree on
Yeah.
things before they go left
Right.
or right or do something.
Right.
With Barry, it's not the case.
Right.
He's not in agreement, which is why he has these little breaks. And I've spoken to him as if I'm speaking to him, and I can I would bet my life if he were put into an altered state of relaxation that you'd find a completely different person there.
Mm.
So that's to
Interesting.
answer your question about um, That's what I see in him, as relates to Manchurian candidates. But
Yeah.
they aren't all leaders. A lot of them you can install those type of behaviors for couriers, for sex operatives, for any of those type of people,
Mm.
because remember, child abuse is sanctioned in this country. There's
Yeah.
families bred for it on purpose, designed because the science showed that when you have a traumatized person, they're more malleable to programming and violation and pre-installing um, behavior patterns and language patterns and habits
Right.
that
Right.
you can
Right.
control because
Right.
they can be triggered through uh, language patterns, words, sounds, symbols, pictures of people to induce these states to get them to behave a certain way. And it's very fluid. It's very fluid because they're doing it from various states inside their nervous system already because it's the
Yeah.
relationship between their nervous system and their thinking mind. And a fractured person, they're behaviorally think in a completely different way, and most of them are totally disassociated as well, which means they really don't have empathy because they're in a state of crisis. Like Barry's in a state of sexual crisis
Yeah.
and a constant everyday thing because he's a gay man and he
Yeah.
can't be who he really is. So he's got to put
Right.
up this whole fake thing all the time, and it's very
Yeah.
stressful to do it. So
Yeah.
I emphasize these things and say them because people can, at this point, people that are researching, they can see it, they can watch it
Right.
happen,
Right.
and
Right.
this is prevalent, and there's much harder other Manchurian candidate people that I suspect of, but I can't tell for sure unless I had them in front of me to
Yeah.
see their breathing and micromuscle movements and what
Right.
type of transderivational search they do when they're addressed, questions that require them to go into their recall and assess memory.
Yeah. Yeah. So you say it's prevalent, there are a number of different niches. Like, for instance, that's pretty high niche, the president of the United States. But the, in the military, in society, a number of different roles, any of which could be filled by somebody that was programmed with triggers in there to be manipulated by their handlers, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my
yeah,
phone's going. Um,
yeah,
that let me just shut this off. My apologies.
no
Uh,
problem.
um, yes, that type of programming, the birth of the self-help industry in the United States was born out of MK Ultra. Neurolinguistic
Really,
programming, yes. The NLP and the self-help movement, it came out of MK Ultra because the self-help section of doing self-behavior modification, sanctioned and asked for by you and affirmed by you, is a
mhm.
business in this country. And
Wow,
one of the people that were the pioneers at that really commercialized it was Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins took technology that CIA and other agencies were using in the form of NLP, because that was used for the military, it was used for all sorts of things, because that was the primary mechanism tool when used with drugs and so forth, to induce states and induce programming. Today, when people see in American culture Tony Robbins doing these things, he's doing that because you want to make more money, you want to have a better marriage, you want to do this, you want to do this. So you go to his seminar and then something happens there. And people
yeah,
don't really understand what happens there. They just sign off on agreements and say they're going to go there because they want to have this experience. And then they
yeah,
have this experience, and he's using, basic NLP modeling to reframe behavior that they want to get past. And that the self-help industry was created in the US, and behavior modification, it's all over America. You can sign up for a
yeah.
seminar to stop smoking, to stop doing this or increase this or whatever, all over the place. But it came out of MK Ultra because
Wow,
NLP was Uh, that was a creation of Dr. Richard Bandler and John Grinder. And it came from the toolbox of Milton Erickson and other hypnotists and people in linguistics that
Yeah.
understood the connection between language perception and awareness and cognition and how all that works together.
Right. So, James, how many of these players out there are directly related to the CIA and perpetrating that sort of thing on behalf of the CIA versus just some guy who figured out how to manipulate things and went into it for money? Let's take Tony Robbins, for instance. I mean, do they have people like that that are serving the purposes of the
Yeah,
CIA?
because the CIA has its own mental health section. That's its
Okay.
own psychiatrist and own psychologist because they have people that are working undercover that have to disassociate to work in those positions. There's
No kidding.
infiltration when you go in and work for these companies and you spy for them or whatever, and they have exfiltration, which is even harder to do because you have to give up the identity that you were and then go around and be this person who you really are when you were being somebody else for a long period of time and you're
Yeah.
finished in the field. So they
Right.
have to have a lot of counseling in some sections, not all of it, because the
Right.
CIA is a multifaceted, very large agency that isn't even self-aware of what it's doing because it doesn't
Yeah.
speak to each other because it's totally compartmentalized.
Wow. 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 So, nefarious powers, even behind things like that, that are working with the fallen ones to control the world. And so, huge agencies like the CIA are being used for the purposes of building this global world order, or in biblical terms, this Antichrist system that opposes all that is good and pure, and because of that opposes freedom and the expression of authentic humanity. So, what would you say? Um, there's a lot of talk these days about the power structures in the world, and there's talk about the Catholic Church being involved, the Crown of England being involved, and the Rockefeller families, and the people that they call, the 13 families of the global cabal. Um, what what input have you learned regarding that, if any, in terms of a cohesive system that all are working in different ways for the same end goal? And that end goal would be a very aggressive, controlling system that views the inhabitants of the earth not as individuals made in the image and likeness of God, but as pawns, as people that can be exterminated without any moral whim. Like, for instance, the years ago, the um, Georgia Guidestones called for the reduction of the world population to 600 million. Unbelievable that that stood for years with relatively little public outcry against it. Relatively. I mean,
Yes.
when you have on the top of the list, let's kill nearly 8 billion people, you would think that there would be more of an outcry against it.
Yeah, well,
But
it's not when you have a certain section of people that own all the media and own all the
thank you.
money transmitters, information transmitters, platforms are all owned by the same people. And
Yeah,
they're going to show you what they want, not
right.
what's relevant. There's nothing
Right.
relevant that
Which is,
anybody's seeing.
yeah.
It's all faked and planned to put there, especially
Yeah.
now. Especially
Mhm.
now.
So, is there light at the end of the tunnel in terms of breaking the dominion? And I know the CIA was involved, the Mockingbird media, but what light is there at the end of the tunnel to see maybe a breaking of that? Because it seems to me, James, like, for instance, why aren't you on national news where everybody can find out what's going on? You do have important things to say, but that will never happen as long as the people you're exposing control all the media outlets. Do you see any light at the end of that tunnel?
Yeah, because they're always going to follow the money. And if somebody's coming out and making statements, um, and it gains traction, they will allow it because it will be
Mm,
used for themselves. Because
yeah,
the big corporate media platforms um, are very synthetic because all the talking points are set up beforehand.
right, right.
How long you'll be talking, who with whom you'll be talking to,
Yeah,
uh, and what things are allowed to be said and not allowed to be said. Because
right,
remember, often these things aren't live. Uh,
right.
there's only if it's live and it's got like Super Bowl level audience, that's the most powerful time to provide anything that has any reality
Yeah,
or has any relevance. But
right.
unfortunately, um, the values of people in the United States, if I wanted to raise money for the Dallas Cowboys cookout party, I probably have the money in less than a week.
Mm,
But if it's for something that concerns the whole culture or our own species survival,
yeah, yeah.
I have to run, beg, and plead for it, including,
Uh,
and it's important. And I want your church and your congregation should know this. You're the only church that I'm aware of that has the guts to talk about any of this stuff. Because I've talked to other people in church areas, and other people have talked on my behalf to church people. They won't get they won't get near this, and
yeah,
which tells me they're aiding and abetting. They're not real
exactly.
churches. That
Right,
you've got most of the churches in the U.S. It's just a business, and
right.
the representatives of churches that are have these gigantic multi-million dollar things that they're doing in finances. I don't need to tell people what they are. They already
Yeah,
know what they are.
yeah.
It's nothing. It's
That,
not real. It's not relevant at all.
right.
So
For
yeah,
years.
I specifically, when I had meetings with the brain computer interface people, and we were talking, okay, what are we going to do? I said, well, I'm going to go talk to the church people
Yeah,
because they're the ones that should be on the front line with this thing,
yeah,
because this has to do with our spiritual autonomy and the future of the species. And you cannot tell me anywhere in the country or any world in the world, in any temple or anywhere else, that doesn't matter to their flock or whoever's
yeah,
showing up.
yeah.
It does matter because that's why they're going, because it means
Right.
something to them
It means
ultimately.
something. Right.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so I for years have called it the Great American Religious Enterprise because it really, in my assessment, in the name of representing Christ, it almost um, diametrically misrepresents Christ.
Yes,
It's not an
exactly.
institution of truth,
Exactly.
which is very,
It's
very sad.
it's a misrepresentation.
Right, right.
Totally. Yeah,
But
right.
you know what I see happening, James, is people. There is an awakening. Of course, I'm talking about not obviously the opposite of wokeness. That's a ploy of the enemy is to take something good and turn it inside out and make it ugly. But so I'm not talking about being woke. I'm talking about being awake to truth, as it says in Scripture. It's time to awaken, and expose the darkness. And so as that's beginning to happen, it's interesting to me that it is primarily not happening through the institution of the Western Church. It
Correct.
primarily is happening toward good old boys and
Yeah.
gals that are just sick of the BS, right?
Yep.
And actually, the best people have left the church because their BS meter is redlining, right? Like, I just
Right.
can't take this anymore. But
Right.
they're going out and they're doing podcasts, and they're going out and they're doing marches, and they're getting groups together. And but the voice of truth is arising. How tragic that it isn't coming from the platforms of America, because that's what it should be coming from, is from people who are actually representing the God of truth, right? But
Yeah.
instead, we have this religious BS, and yet the truth will prevail, and there is a grassroots movement. I came from Idaho, and in Idaho there are a whole bunch of what they call cowboy churches, and they might meet in a bar on a Friday, but they're
Yeah.
people that know they're made in the image and likeness of God. They've had it up to here with all of the manipulation and the Antichrist stuff, and yeah, and this system that is trying to force us into its mold. And um, I have a lot of hope for that, a grassroots movement. I don't think it will happen within the church. Of course, there's the church that Christ said that he was founding his church. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the U.S. American religious enterprise. It won't happen in that. It'll
No.
be people who, from God's point, are a part of the church, but
Correct.
they're not singing "Kumbaya" behind stained glass, right?
Right.
They're out there
Exactly.
getting it on,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
they're letting the light of truth shine through them. I have a lot of hope for that. I wanted to talk to you about one other thing, and just get your take on it. I don't know. Um, I know you go way down the rabbit hole further than most people can imagine, but uh, the issue of soul cocooning. I first heard it um, uh, with in talking about AI and the nanoparticles in the vaccines. And you mentioned this earlier, James, but those same nanoparticles, they're spraying them on vegetables. They're coming down through the air. They are poisonous in every way possible. But anyway, the Cyrus Parson mentioned soul cocooning in one of his books, and it's the idea that, like, for instance, I'm a exorcist. I've done it internationally for years, and that's certainly a huge part of the problem. Evil spirits can have powerful control over people. But now that we're into the singularity, so can evil men in technological institutions that are using radio waves and stuff. Right? It's become it's become pretty complicated. But the idea, of course, if somebody is being controlled by an evil spirit, uh, uh, according to the command of Christ, and of course, I've had a lot of experience, but you can force evil spirits to leave them if they will realign their lives. And what I mean by that is nothing happens in the spirit world by chance. Everything happens by cosmic right. The word in scripture is topos, but it means a license to operate against somebody. And evil spirits find that. That's why we talked earlier about drugs being gateways, right? You inebriate yourself, and evil spirits say, "Okay, that's my license to do this, to cause fear, anger, hatred, or whatever." But anyway, um, the, the the issue of soul cocooning, my understanding, is that the kingdom of darkness is trying to find a way to indefinitely control an army of apparent human beings. And why I say that is they're trying to take away from us our unique identity as sons of God, but they still want an army of autotoms in a certain sense. And the problem with that, of course, is that humans have souls, and God has given us the dignity to choose, which is your message. Let's choose not to be controlled like this. but we have to exercise our freedom of choice and say we will not comply. Now, in the life of an exorcist, I don't know. I've talked to thousands of people that I talked to them, and I said, you know what? You're stuck with that evil spirit because the kind of things you've embraced in your life will empower evil. And so you want me to drive that spirit away, not understanding it has a cosmic right to control you because, whatever. Um, so, now of course, zombie for our listeners, zombieism is not just a construct of Hollywood, but um, it essentially comes out of Trinidad and other parts in the world. But ancient tradition, Trinidad had perfected zombieism, where the spirit of a warlock would leave its body, its meat sack, and travel on the astral realm and come into a dead body that had just died. That they actually, it's like a unique division of demonization. But in this case, spirit comes into a recently dead body that still has enough organic life in it to move. And so now that spirit can cause that dead body to get up and stagger around for a while and do mischievous things because it's being controlled by an evil spirit. But it doesn't last long, and and they move funny, and because the body is in the process of mortification, right? It's in the process of becoming completely useless um, as a medium of expression. It's dying, right? But the idea of soul cocooning, because death comes to a body when the spirit soul, the essence of the being, is gone, and now it's just a meat sack, and it begins to decay and putrefy almost immediately. In fact, it is immediate. It just takes a while, but within a couple of hours, it's kind of a mess. So anyway, soul cocooning, as I have understood it, is the process of keeping the spirit soul. They're combined there, but anyway, keeping the life essence in the meat sack, because it's the life essence that keeps the meat sack alive. And so now they haven't been truncated, they haven't been separated, the silver cord hasn't been cut, so the body can live indefinitely because it's alive in the organic ultimate sense. But now they find out a way to cocoon that soul in that person's body and incrementally separate it from its ability to interface with the mind. Now, now you got an issue where you have a meat sack that will stay fresh on you for an indefinite amount of time, and then another entity, whether it's a walk-in, whether it's from the spirit world, a disembodied entity, or even through the hive mind, through radio frequencies and stuff that come out of the whole concept of singularity. You can animate that body and make it do what you want, and you don't have to worry about the thing putrefying because the soul is still in it. So I don't know if you've gone down that rabbit hole. Cyrus Parsa is the first one that brought it up. As this is what they're going for in the future, to have an army of these
Yeah, because
atomic.
they're going to upload your consciousness into
They can upload anybody's consciousness into that, right?
yes, yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the uploading of consciousness, because they're realizing that's why there's such discussion about right now with near death experiences,
Yeah.
and making people understand that they do go on, and we are eternal and so forth. But
Yeah. Right.
our
Right.
meat sack bodies are just temporary vessels. But what they're going to be doing, and I'll probably have already done. I don't have um, conclusive proof of it, but
Yeah.
is the ability to um, because of the brain computer interface, by the way, this will
Right.
allow you to upload the
Right.
consciousness into uh, a silicon based hard drive or some kind of storage unit. And then it can be held there and then ultimately put back into other living tissue. Um,
Wow.
so this
So it's
is,
sort of like a soul transplant.
yeah, it's like a soul transplant. It basically is would allow somebody to change bodies.
Wow.
Even though they've made movies about this where um, somebody's consciousness has been uploaded into another physical body that's not theirs because they just died.
Right.
I forgot. It's very well done. I forgot. I've seen the movie where they're covering that, and it basically would they'd come back in a different body, looking completely differently, but you'd have the personality of the person that
Yeah.
their
Right.
consciousness being uploaded into, and then they would carry out the duties of this other person with all the knowledge intact of the
All the
previous.
memories,
Yeah,
all
all,
the
and the
education.
person would they
Wow.
wouldn't know the difference other than the physical encasing and the feel and touch and smell and
Yeah.
sound of that meat sack body. Uh, it would be like putting on a different pair of shoes. You could
Right.
still
Yeah.
walk in them, but the shoes would feel different, and
Yeah.
you have to adjust your steps to it. This is what is I would say is going on,
Yeah. Wow.
but I haven't seen proof of it, and I haven't examined it uh, because it would be almost indistinguishable.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be
Well,
able to.
yeah. Thank you for that. I did want to ask you also, and it goes along with this, but you mentioned this just in passing, but that's the technology that can sustain life. Let me just say for our readers that there's a very fascinating verse in the book of Revelation about the end of age and the Antichrist army. But anyway, it says that people will want to die but can't. That's a fascinating um, concept, really, because there's never been a time in human history where people could not kill themselves. But any event, whatever that represents, we're hearing more and more said about death in the future being an option, and even in terms of the global cabal and the uh, Georgia Guidestones
Yeah, it has to
predict.
do with upgrading our species to something that can we can be eternal,
Yeah,
consciously
yeah.
eternal, and it's being
So
done to the excuse will be because we're interfacing with advanced intelligence off-world individuals, and that's going to be the excuse and how it will be sold because that is actually going on, and it's related to Solar Warden and the Navy, and all of that's going to come into fruition very quickly because of what is the big story right now is about this incoming object that's coming into our solar system that
okay,
operated because everything is a psyop, yes,
yeah,
uh, but how it's being sold to us and who's selling it
right,
and how you're to respond to it. Um, that's something that your independent um, people that are in your congregation are going to
yeah,
have to decipher for themselves and not look to authority figures to do their thinking for them
right. Now
because
you said
they want authority figures with all this is going on. They want a reliance on authority figures to have answers, and morally, what do we do?
Yeah.
Because when you have an advanced species that's thinking faster and smarter, like AI is mimicking and doing, um,
Right.
the people that created all that, they want to be the authorities,
Yeah.
not the higher intelligence. So they
Right.
need to
Right.
create a scenario to maintain that. And that's what
Right.
they're doing right now with
No,
all
you
that
you you
story.
mentioned the Navy. You mentioned incoming object, the comet, the um, associated with the Bethlehem star or the ninth planet deal. But um, the the idea behind all this, and I'm just talking out loud here, James, to get your input on it, but the idea is the elite, which is the Elites, the people that feel like they're gods, but the Elites are wanting to eliminate the useless feeders to be able to control indefinitely those people that they spare and rule as gods on the earth that will never die. And if their body uh, gets gets worn, the gaskets are wearing out, they can download their essence into another physical body and continue to live.
Correct.
Would you agree with that assessment of the mindset of the Elites who are trying to control the
Yes.
world and eliminate us? Okay.
Yeah, they want to be the gods, and
Right.
they want to have dominion over the entire thing, and be able to keep up with other advanced species that
Yeah.
they're going to be interfacing with. That's how it will be sold, because they have to be able to justify their actions,
Yeah.
and sell it to the public as if it's the right thing to do, because they're going to introduce, and they already are introducing it, the extraterrestrial aspect of this whole thing, which is being put in everybody's face, and it's going to
Right.
continue and elevate into almost, by 2027 it'll be completely totally out, but it's being
So
elevated right now.
full disclosure by 2027. And are you referring to not only like the talks about species that are returning on Nibiru or coming from the second heavens, but what about anything under the ice in Antarctica? Is
all
that
of that's
also
gonna all that's gonna come out. It's already
okay?
coming out now. I mean,
Yeah.
they're spoon feeding it out really
Yep.
slowly on a continual daily basis in some forms. So exopolitics will become politics. That you're
Wow.
seeing the marriage of exopolitics merge with mainstream politics right now for the first time in history. And
Wow.
the subject matter of extraterrestrials was just brought up to the head of DNI, Tulsi Gabbard. The discussion is happening, and it's happening with Trump, and it's happening with the Navy, and public statements are being made that we're able to manipulate the space-time continuum, and all these
Wow.
things are happening by official sources. They're saying them in public now, which
Wow.
means that if the real controversial people that know that we have teleportation and have manipulated the space-time continuum, all that stuff's on the table now, because it's all being talked about by the highest people in positions as facts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the the the, the understanding of um, public on this is because of secrecy that was made in the 40s and 50s over a
Right.
long, long period of time.
Yeah.
A group of people decided that you just couldn't handle the truth. You
Right.
couldn't handle it. And the people that couldn't handle it didn't want you to handle it because
Yeah.
they wanted to be in control of society, and they didn't
Oh,
want to
imagine that.
lose control of society by telling you that we're not alone, and there are
Yeah.
advanced intelligence
Right.
that are
Right.
interfacing with us, and we've got to figure out a way to maintain control throughout
Wow.
this awakening processes, which is what is happening now. It has profound, profound spiritual overtones and significance. And this is why
Indeed.
the brain computer interface thing is the final act of that.
Wow.
What that's
Wow.
going to mean, because people are already using the brain as neural storage. Now they're
Right.
storing information in there. Um, the movie Elysium
Yeah.
is some of the technology in there is already here. So
Hmm.
you're instead of saving something on your computer and your hard drive, which
Right.
isn't safe because it's open to everybody,
Yeah.
you'll save it into the brain, and that'll be
Yeah.
the storage facility for the address or whatever. But it'll be you'll have access to it,
Right.
be
Yeah.
attached to your body,
All
and
right. Wow.
you'll also you also will get the text in your brain in the form of a sound,
Wow.
because the voice will
Wow.
be
Wow.
spoken, because they'll clone you can clone the voice
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
your text to speak. So it
Yeah.
will. I mean, it's so overwhelming. I know it's overwhelming for people to hear all this, um, and they're going to have to take time to uh, understand it. So what I've done in as a response to all of this and being asked to talk to the public about it is I um, created a declaration to file in the county recorder's office and with the UCC, basically declaring our neurocognitive rights uh, onto the system as a matter of fact. So when it comes time to be reintegrated, I've already, or somebody, or people are already stating on the record uh, that there'll be claims filed against violations for anything having to do with your neurocognitive ability and your privacy of your own thoughts
Yeah.
and your own autonomy. So these
Yeah.
are statements that are being filed. So I've gathered everybody to where I'm going to be making all these announcements and giving the firsthand intelligence into Patreon for specifically a reason. So they go to Patreon and James Martinez Media and Patreon. They're going to get all the firsthand stuff. And the reason I set that up is because I had to do fundraising on my own for the first time ever, raise money with the public to um, deal with the brain computer interface committee, because
Wow.
we can't find any money in the country to find it right now because
Unbelievable.
everybody's ignoring us. So I'm having to go
Unbelievable.
to the public to do this, to raise funds, to go and meet with other governments and get other people involved on the bandwagon of this particular thing. It's like an absolute total travesty that I should go have to ask the public for money to do
Right.
something to finance your rights to represent the United States to salvage and save your neurocognitive free will.
Wow. Wow. So, James, tell us again where they can go to access that. That's Patreon
Yeah,
at
if they go
James
to
Martinez.
uh, patreon.com// James Martinez Media, they can find that there, or they can go to Electric 11 Media on X, and I have the links there. Um, I want them to go there because I've received like full confessionals of what's going on with people from all
Yeah.
over the place. It
Yeah.
is unbelievable what people are telling me. If you read it, you'd think, "Wow, we're in a lunatic asylum." That it's
Wow.
that it's that
Wow.
bad, because you got
Well,
people that are in crisis behind the
yeah.
scenes.
Yeah. Well, James, what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, is on that signal communication between you and I, if you'll send me those links, we'll post them on these four podcasts that we've done and try to get you some support. If anybody's listening, I don't know what you could support that would be more important than what James is trying to do in warning the world that we're being co-opted by evil people that want to control us, and if they can't control us, they want to eliminate us. The world needs to know it's not something that might happen in 2035. It's something that's happening right now. It's been happening for a long time. Everybody's head's been in the sand. And so, would you do two things? First, help support him, and then spread these links, which will also help support him. But you can see the links listed in the bottom here for your reference. But I want to thank you, James, for coming on. Want to thank you for these podcasts, and of course, we'll have to do it again. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening. I know that what you said is true. I wish it weren't, but I know it's true that most men of faith, um, or I don't know how many men of faith there are left. You know, there's a verse in the Bible where it says, when Christ returns, will he find faith on the earth? And so the sad truth is there isn't much genuine faith left. But the point is, I know there aren't a lot of outlets. We have a wonderful network here, and a lot of people who love God and they're bold for truth. And so let's stay in touch. And when you want to come on again, you always can. Love to hear what's going on. I really value your friendship. I know that was a God ordained thing that we connected, and I want you to know I consider it a real honor to know you. But I do want to say we stand for truth. You represent that, and we're happy to have you back anytime you need to get something out to listeners. And we don't, we'll continue to grow our listening base, but we'll help you all we can. That's what I'm saying, James. So
Well,
stay
let's say this as a parting note to your audience. Thank you very much first for having me. This is the first
honored.
time I've ever spoken to any congregation. I wanted to do that for a very long time, but I was so turned off. You're the only guy that I decided to do so from other people that recommended you and introduced me to you and your people and your congregation, who's I maybe I'll see them someday in the future.
I
But
sure hope so.
thank you very much for that. And
Yeah.
I will just want to tell everybody, this is your big moment for the entire species and you. This is all about your spiritual evolution and why you came here. This is part
Yeah.
of it. This
Yeah.
is the ultimate stand up moment for yourselves, your loved ones, and it's also the greatest opportunity to unify people from all faiths and all colors all over the world. Because
Yeah.
nobody I know wants this to go down. Nobody,
Right.
not one
Right.
person that I've spoken
Right.
to. They don't.
Ex-
They
ex-
don't want to participate this. They want to put a brakes to it, and they have value in themselves, in their children, in their children's children, to
yeah.
put a stop to this. So,
Yeah.
thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you.
You you are very welcome, James, and I'd love you to come here sometime. I know you're a pretty busy guy, but just let me know if you're ever going to be available, and you can come here. And I'd love the Church of Glad Tidings to meet you, and everybody that's listening. We need to be praying for James. The power of prayer is profound. We've been talking about all kinds of techniques of, radio frequencies and whatnot. But listen, prayer changes things. It's very profound. Pray for James, um, and and all that he's doing. We didn't talk today about uh, your work with cold fusion and many other things, but James is involved at a very deep level in the forefront um, of advanced technology that goes beyond what most people are even aware of. But we need to pray for him that God will bless him, help him, give him favor. And James, I just want to say thank you again for coming and being here on Time to Roar. And you're always welcome at the Church of Glad Tidings.
Thank you so much.
All right. So, everybody out there, remember, we don't have margins left. I played basketball through a high school and college, but my varsity basketball coach, he used to always give us this talk at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And he used to say, Well, gentlemen, if you've been saving anything, this is the fourth quarter. And so that's how I feel like, hey, there's nothing to store